Welcome back to the Real with Joseph Lappin. Hey, and Joseph Lappin. Hope you guys having a great Wednesday. Welcome into the Real. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, and share. I'd really appreciate that. Shout out to the new subscribers we've had, and I really appreciate you guys. And shout out to you on the playback. And please hit the like button on the way in here too. Let's get a like rally going on the way in here. But um, appreciate you guys for tuning in today. My man Humble's gonna be joining me. Well, he's got a great story in the back end of the show we're gonna get into, where he's going to share a real life story and share some knowledge and some wisdom. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. We're going to get right to it, though. To start today, Kenny Atkinson, for the obviously the Cleveland Cavaliers coach, had some very interesting comments after the game last night about the team defensively. Really challenged the coach, or really challenged the team and the leaders. And I thought the comments Kenny made were pretty interesting compared to where they are right now in the season, and they're about 2-3 weeks out from the playoffs. I feel like what the coach said is not the best message you want to hear right now, in my opinion. So I'm gonna get to that here in a minute. I'm gonna break down some film on what Kenny said as well, and then we'll look. The Cavs play the Heat tonight in about an hour and a half at 7:30. They tip off against the Heat at home, and another game they should win at home. So we'll get into that a little bit, but no further ado, I'm gonna get the man up here himself, running the Humble Man MMA channel now. Go subscribe to him and show him some love. My guy Humble is in the building. Humble, what's happening?
What's happening? What's happening, everybody? Hope everyone's having a fabulous Wednesday, and we're back at it.
Back at it again. Humble. Yesterday we gave our predictions for the game. That was a big game. We felt for the Cavs at home against the Orlando Magic, another playoff team. So I guess your quick thoughts, Humble, on the game. The Cavs got the win. I'll get the box score up here. Give me 1 second. But they got the win 136-131. What was your quick reaction to the game?
High scoring game, very high scoring game. I think it was like 70 to something, like 68 or something at halftime. I mean, definitely not what we thought it was going to be, Joe, but maybe we should have seen it because these guys are going to be probably going to see each other in the playoffs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these guys, they went out there and they scored a lot of points, man. And yeah, it definitely caught me by surprise.
Yeah, I think too, what we saw, we predicted yesterday. I said that the Magic were going to come out and try to really get Banchero to get the switch on Harden a lot. They got that early on. He went to work early. But you and I both predicted that Mobley and Mitchell should come off to a hot start. And you said Mitchell would have a big night. I think he ended up having, 45 points.
40.
What do you have?
He had a 40 bomb for sure, yeah.
42 points.
Yeah.
Mobley, I thought, would have 18, 20 shots last night. He ended up only having 8. He was 8 for 8, though, so I think he probably could have got the ball more. Still had 19 and 9. I thought he would have a 28-15 game, which I think he still should have, but, I mean, it was what it was. But the Cavs got the win, Humble. So I think one thing that helped them last night was, and I've said this before, you look at the team stats here, they've shot less threes last night than the Magic, where usually the Cavs shoot more threes than their opponent. You see last night, Humble, right here, 12 of 30 from the field for 40%. Magic shot 39 threes, or 36%. So the Cavs, I thought, were a lot more efficient last night offensively, 60% from the field. They shot 60, 40, 90 as a team. That's pretty good. So, you'll take that any day of the week. If they scored 136 points, everybody'd say, okay, well, what's the problem? Well, you gave up 131 points.
Right.
At home to a team without Jalen Suggs. And I know you're without Jared Allen, but, you still got Defensive Player of the Year out there. You're at home. I mean, you got to have a little pride. Kenny Atkinson, Humble, after the game, he made it pretty known. He's not happy with where this team is right now. I think we know they could score points, and I feel like maybe Kenny's been watching the show, Humble, because I've been saying these same points, and I said, did I or did I not challenge Kenny Atkinson 2 weeks ago?
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. You've been on his case.
I did. I said, Kenny, it starts with you, bro. You got to call out your team and get this in order. You cannot win with this kind of defense in the postseason. Right. To Kenny's credit, Kenny has publicly called them out. And I think that's a concern. I don't think that's a good sign. Some people may say that you're overlooking. I'm just telling you, man, I don't like my coach 2 weeks out from the playoffs saying these comments right here. And we'll get to them right now. So after the game, Humble, Kenny, there's a little feedback on your end, Humble. I don't know if it's an echo from the phone or.
Oh,
Yeah, okay, you're good. Uh, so I'll read the comment. I'll read the quote from Kenny. So Kenny said after the game, he said, "quote I just told the team, if we're going to play defense like this, we're going to have a short playoff stint." End quote. Atkinson said in response to a question about Donovan Mitchell, James Harden lighting it up on offense, he said, "quote Right now, we have a mentality that we're just going to outscore people, and we all know come playoff time, it's not going to be that easy." Gee, I wonder who was saying that, Humble. The last 2 weeks on YouTube. That was me. I've been saying that longer than that. Even on Toon's channel, I've been saying that. That you know you're not going to win in the postseason just off of outscoring people. In the playoff time, the game slows down. It's more half court style. It's more matchups. You're playing the same team for at least 4 times in a series. So you're going head to it gets harder as the game goes on because teams are making adjustments. You're locking in on one opponent. It's not going to be as easy as an 82 game season. Oh, we're flying into Cleveland tonight playing the Cavs, and the Cavs go out there and just drop 136 points. It's not that easy in the playoff time. So Kenny hit the nail right on the head. Everything Kenny said there is correct. But, you know, I just, the fact that it's taken him to now to say that he has to say this now as we're approaching the playoffs is not a good sign, in my opinion. I don't like my coach out there. I wouldn't want my coach out there saying these next comments, especially right here. Atkinson went on to outline that he's most frustrated because he knows they're capable of being better. And he made some other comments last night too. When somebody said, "Well, do you think a lot of defensive problems is because Jared Allen's out?" Well, he said, "Yeah, I mean, he basically, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically, we know how important Jared Allen is, JA is, but we had the defensive player of the year over there at Evan Mobley still. He said we have the personnel to get it done." So in Kenny's mind, he said last night, it's not a personnel issue. It's just we're not executing as we're not playing at a high level defensively, and we're not playing as well as we're capable of playing. I think a lot of it too. I'm gonna show some of the film today. It's just basic fundamentals that I keep pointing out. And he says right here, he says, "quote Our leaders got to take ownership. It really starts there. We have to switch our mentality right now." And so when I hear that quote right there, it says, "quote Our leaders got to take ownership." I, I mean, he said it really starts right there. It starts there. It almost sounds like, and maybe one of two things here. Maybe Kenny, it's just saying what everybody in the locker room already knows, it agrees with, that the leaders got to step up, and you guys were poached. But why are you saying this now? That's what I don't understand. You're saying this 2 3 weeks for the playoffs. You're asking for leadership. I mean, this is something that you hear in the middle of January, approaching the trade deadline, with a team that's, hey, they're probably going to wipe out half. They're going to trade half their team, and they're probably about they're underperforming. They're below 500, around 500. They're projected to be a higher seed team earlier in the year. They're underperforming. It's time to blow it up. That's usually when you hear these kind of comments from a coach. But is in those situations. We're here in a situation where the Cavs are about a month out from going to the post, or excuse me, less than a month, 2 3 weeks out from going to the postseason, and this is what the coach is saying: we need our leaders to step up. The coach just told you right there. If we keep playing defense like this, he just said flat out, we're gonna have a short playoff stint, and that's been the the story with the Cavs for the last 3 years, 3 4 years, underperforming the postseason, especially since Donovan Mitchell's been here. It's when you got Donovan Mitchell, you were expected to be a legit contender in the East, and they've underperformed in the playoffs. They got smoked by the Knicks. They were bullied by the Knicks. It took you 7 games. You beat the Magic. You finally go over the hump in 7 games. Then you go against the Celtics. You get your injured, but you got whopped there. And then you come back last year, and you have a great regular season, and you completely just shit the bed against the Pacers. And they ran you off your floor, literally. I mean, they it wasn't even close. It wasn't a close series last year with Indiana. And you go back and watch that series, they couldn't get the ball past half court, which some of that was personnel, but it wasn't just that. Even bad transition defense, bad shot selection, settling for threes, hoisting threes. No efficiency, putting themselves in a bad spot defensively because you can't get back at transition. And with a team like Indiana was pushing the pace on them like that, and then defensively they were a nightmare. They were not a very good defensive team in that series. They weren't a good team as a whole in that series. Couldn't close out games. You know, one dimensional at the end of those games. It was just Donovan playing hero ball. Not a lot of movement. Not a lot of anything. And a lot of that starts with the coach. And I'm not sure what Kenny has done differently this year behind the scenes, but I have at times seen those same problems. And I pointed that on the film. I could have the evidence, the film to show it. When they play against the top tier teams recently, or even certain just playoff teams, they still go back to those old habits here or there. Now they've gotten better at it. Last night was a better step in terms of offense. They were pushing the pace more, got the ball inside to Evan early on, played more inside out. They were very efficient offensively last night. They were great, very efficient. You take that any day of the week, pushing the ball in transition, not letting teams just push, control the pace on them. But defensively, man, they just, Kenny said it's not a personnel problem, which I get what Kenny's saying. At the end of the day, we have what we have. And I think he is right to a degree. I'm going to show some of the film. Like, some of it's just basic fundamentals. And I showed that when they played the Thunder last 2 weeks or about a month ago, when they played the Thunder in OKC, I broke down that film and how atrocious that game was defensively. And it was just like, it was just basic fundamental basketball and effort. That's all it was. It was about 50% effort and 50% fundamentals. And those are two things that you shouldn't really be begging your team to do as an NBA team. I shouldn't have to worry about my guys, playing defense, fundamentally sound defense, like knowing how to rotate, correct hand in the passing lane, how to box out, how to move your feet properly, get a good stance. Like, this is all stuff you learn in high school or even it's middle school, and then you learn it at a higher level, and you get even better at it when you're in college. Then you take that to the NBA. Now you're at the top tier level of basketball. Like, of course you have to, but the Cavs can't even do that most nights this year. They just, because like he said it, and I think what Kenny Atkinson said last night, he's taking a direct shot at James Harden and Donovan Mitchell especially, because what he's saying is, and I think he is challenging Evan Mobley to probably be more vocal. That's something that a lot of people have said for years since he's been here. He's a quiet guy, but especially Donovan and James, because James Harden's whole career. And what have people said? Great offensive scorer, MVP, right? He could score better than anybody, just as well or just better than anybody. But doesn't play defense, can't get it done when it matters most in the postseason. Doesn't really lead by example a lot of times with his effort on the court. Shows it in the huddle when he's talking to people and yelling at people, maybe to get out of my way, let me go dribble, dribble, dribble. But when you watch him on the tape, the defense, the effort, it's just not there a lot of nights. You're just sitting there scratching your head like, what the hell are we doing? Or what the hell is he doing? And you're supposed to be one of the tier faces of the franchise, one of the leaders. And so I think Kenny Atkinson's taking a direct shot at the top two guys, because you see what it says right there. It was he was asked about Donovan and James lighting up on offense. Kenny took the question and said, "Oh man, I'm gonna switch this around. I'm gonna you're talking about those two. Here's what they need to do better." Is basically what Kenny's saying. They need to be better leaders. They need to have a better mentality, because I love Donovan Mitchell, but I pushed back on Donovan Mitchell quite a bit here recently in the last 2 years, because I hear all this stuff about Donovan may leave. If Donovan doesn't like what's going on in Cleveland, he might leave. And Donovan's frustrated where the team's at, and he goes out and he'll make comments in the media like, we're not where we need to be, and this isn't championship level. And you hear Donovan may leave because he wants to win a championship. And I'm like, hey man, what championship has Donovan Mitchell won? He hadn't won jack shit. Donovan Mitchell, a great player, but some people have questioned him falling short at the end of playoff runs when he's lost and fallen short. That he hasn't shown up at times. That sometimes he's just a one-dimensional player. And so, at the end of the day, the Cavs are the one that have a championship banner hanging in that arena, not Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell has nothing to show in terms of championships. Doesn't have MVP. He don't have any of that. He's a great player, get a hell of a scorer, and what a very impressive athlete for his size. Donovan's he can be a piece of winning a championship, but I don't. I've said this for years. I don't think Donovan's a leader of a championship team because he doesn't know how. He's never won. He doesn't know how to. But the guy walks around and acts like he does. There's this mentality, and James Harden too. And now James Harden, I think, has actually a little more credentials than Donovan. He's a top 75 player of all time. He's won MVPs. He's, definitely one of the best scorers in the last 25 years. He has made it to an NBA Finals at least with the Thunder. Now he wasn't the main guy, but still he has a little more, I think, but pushed than Donovan. But he still hasn't done anything. He still hasn't won. And so, when you're two guys that haven't won, you should be out there every day, every game with the mentality of we got to lay it all on the line on both ends. We got to lead by example. And I don't see that some night. And I think that outscore people mentality, that's what you get with two guards. That their whole bread and butter is just scoring the basketball. James is a great playmaker, but that's their whole bread and butter is where they make their hundreds of millions of dollars is on the offensive end. It ain't because they're two-way defensive juggernauts or two-way players and they're good or they're a defensive juggernaut. They're not that. They're not Kawhi Leonard. They're not Kevin Durant. They're not LeBron James. They're not Kobe Bryant. They're not even Paul Pierce in terms of just being a two-way guy of a real winning championship basketball. Because championship basketball isn't just how many, you can go out and just score 40 points. Yeah, you may score 40 points, but your team gave up 131 and you lost in the playoffs. Nobody gives a shit. And if they're giving you all the shots, of course you're going to score that many points. There's other NBA guys, you give them the same amount of shots in a game, they're capable of going out and scoring a lot of points too. May not be as talented as Donovan Mitchell or the vocal point of the team or the franchise, but he gets those shots because he is who he is. But you got to play it on both ends, dude. This ain't a one-way street. You don't win a championship on a one-way street. It just doesn't happen. The teams that have won championships in the last recent years, even Steph Curry, not the greatest defender, but the Warriors always played team. He was a leader, and they were always, and I'm a Cavs fan, and they always played great team basketball on both ends. When the Cavs won the championship, you had LeBron out there, and those guys, when they need to get stops at the end of that game against the Warriors in Game 7, they stepped up and got it done because they understood what it. And they didn't have, Kyrie wasn't the greatest perimeter defender, but they had guys that Kevin Love wasn't even the greatest perimeter defender. But what did Kevin Love do at the end of the game? Switched out on Steph Curry and was fundamentally. I mean, it was like it was pitch perfect the way he was playing defense on Curry. Forced him into a shot, they got the stop. That's what it takes to win championships. But, when you have two guys with mentality, we could just go out and score 40 any night. Great. But if you can't get stops, it's not going to matter. You're still going to lose the game. You look at the box score last night. Look at these stats again. If you look at it, I mean, they shot 60, 40, 90. They shot 9 less threes in the Magic. 90% from the free throw line. Shot 60% from the field on 3 fewer shots. If I blocked out what the Magic did last night and just looked at the Cavs box score and how many points they finished with, I'd have said, oh, the Cavs won this by 20. I'd be like, the Cavs won this game by 20 last night. But because they can't guard it, they can't stop a nosebleed, especially on the perimeter, mainly, you allow the teams like the Magic, because the Cavs, at the end of the day, the Cavs are supposed to be a tier 1 team. We expect them to be a tier 1 team that contends in the Eastern Conference. But they're going against a team that's a tier 3, borderline 2 last night, and they're allowing them to end their house 2 weeks from the postseason, a team you may play. You're allowing them to stay in the game because you don't want to do what you need to do defensively. You don't want to have the mentality of, setting a tone on both ends because you don't understand, as your two leaders, what it takes to actually go win a championship. You think you're just going to outscore everybody most nights. And that you can't just flip a switch when you get in the postseason. You have to build habits now so that when you get to the postseason, you know what you're capable of doing as a team because it's been done and you can build off of those habits. There's no just you're not they're not just going to miraculously get like I hear people say all the time. Well, I think when they get in the playoffs, I think they'll be a contender. How? That doesn't even make any sense. You don't just get the playoffs and all of a sudden just flip the switch and like they're just all of a sudden they just start playing great defense again. No, the coach is telling you this for a reason because he knows you can't just flip a switch. That's not reality. Like this isn't 2K. This isn't fantasy land. That's not how it works. You have to build habits throughout the season so that when you get in the postseason, and I'm saying the same thing again, but if I'm repeating myself, because it's the main point of what Kenny's saying. It's just not you have to build the habits now so when you get in the postseason, you know what you are defensively. You know what you're good at, what you're not good at, and you have trust with each other and it's good habits. You know what I mean? And you can step up and with just effort and good fundamentals, you know you can get stops when you need them. The Cavs right now do not look like a team they believe they can get stops. I mean, it is a free lane to the basket because we have guards that just cannot. And they got better personnel wise. Kenny's right. At the deadline, they actually got better defensively. You brought in a bigger guard in James Harden, which his offense I think can help you be your better defense because how much pressure he puts on a opposing team, and he can push the pace. He's a great playmaker. That's a plus there defensively. And you brought in Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, who are really good defenders throughout their careers. And the problems still aren't solved. And I think what Kenny's saying is, I almost feel like Kenny's saying, I've tried behind the scenes. And now this is what I got to do. I got to call out. I got to challenge their mentality and what they're thinking, thought processes, how they think they're going to win in the postseason. And then also, I got to question their leadership. I'm going to put their leadership up to the task. I'm going to put that on the spot publicly. They got to take ownership. And he's saying it really starts there. So I think what Kenny's saying is maybe we're harping on it behind the scenes as coaches. But I got two leaders that, it's kind of like in football. Your best player on your team, usually on a championship team, can't be a diva wide receiver or a receiver who's very talented, right? Or a cornerback. It just never really, those teams usually don't win in football when those are your top two players. Because a cornerback and a receiver's mentality, most of the time nowadays, especially, they're not usually the leaders of the team. They're great players, but they're a little bit extra. They're a little diva, And I feel like right now with the Cavs, we have guys with the mentality of a receiver and a cornerback that are trying to lead the team, but they don't have the know-how in the leadership, and I think that's why the coach is having to put it on the spot and say like, "Hey, man." It's almost like Kenny's telling you, folks, if we fall short again, it ain't on me. I tried. It's the same. This is the problem, and part of this, leadership is so, I think, undervalued nowadays in team sports because of fans and media always disregard because I think the fantasy sport mindset, the PFF mindset, the analytical mindset, everybody has a value nowadays, right? And that value is through statistics a lot of times. But what the statistics don't equal championships because there's different recipes to a championship team that statistics can't provide and can't show you. And that's leadership, that's heart, that's passion, that's experience, the know-how. What guy in the Cavs roster right now, maybe I'm going blank, and if I am, put it in the comments, what guy in this roster has won an NBA championship? None. They have nobody on this roster that's won an NBA championship. And they've had this younger core for the last, guys all in their prime or below, entering their prime for the last 3 years. They have nobody out there that can win a championship. Or they have nobody out there that's won a championship. And I think that's a failure on the front office, and I think that's a failure across team sports now. With you look at all the teams that always fall short. They have all these great talent. They acquire all this great talent. And they have all these expectations, but they always flop. It's because a lot of times you look at them, they're overly analytical, and because of that, they don't really understand the real ingredients it takes to win a championship and to be a real contender year in and year out. They don't have that because it's not valued. It's like when I cover the Browns right now, I hear AJ Barry's comments a month ago talking about, they're going to try to stick in a certain age range and players. And I'm like, I get that, but man, you got to have at least one or two guys on each side of the ball in your locker room that at least won something. Leadership matters, but a guy like Andrew Barry, very analytical, thinks he's smarter than everybody else. Where's that gotten them? Nowhere. They're in a dumpster. I mean, they're in the shitter. So they're trying to get out of it now. So again, I think the Cavs are a better organization than the Browns, but I think the Cavs now are kind of overvaluing the leadership. But I think Kenny knows that. Kenny's been a part of a championship. That's the only guy there that's been a part of a championship with between the coaching staff. Well, I don't know about that. Maybe some guys that were carryovers from 16. I don't think they are, but Kenny has been part of a championship. He was part of one with Golden State. And what he saw in Golden State was it wasn't just analytics and threes and all that. It was leadership, accountability, guys that knew how to knew how to win, knew how important defense was. That you're not just going to outscore people because some nights your shots aren't going to be there. But you don't just chalk up the night and just say, well, we had good looks and that's it. Because I've heard that from Donovan this year. We had good looks, we just didn't make them. Again, it was against the Celtics. And I was like, no, Donovan, it wasn't just that. The Celtics and Joe Mazzulla outsmarted you because they won a championship and they said, hey, man, we usually shoot a lot of threes, but we know how this team likes their tendencies and how they like to play. We're going to use their own game against them, and that's how we're going to beat them. And that's why the Celtics, and you go watch the Celtics every game we played them this year, because I think they're probably the favorites to come out of the East right now. You go watch every game we played them this year. We've shot less. They've shot less threes than us every game. But they're supposed to be the team that jacks up the most threes than anybody in the league. Why not against the Cavs? Because they know how to beat the Cavs. You use their own game against them. And so I'm going to break down some of this film real quick, and I'm going to get Humble back up here to get his takes on all this. But the film breakdown just shows it. So here's the film for the last night for the Cavs against the Magic, some of the defensive breakdown. Let me get this up here for you. Fair use, fair use. And kind of what Kenny was talking about. And a lot of this is just bad fundamentals. Like, it's not even like, they're out, like it was a bad matchup. Or, like, I get what Kenny's saying. It's not just personnel. Watch Sam Merrill right here. Okay, so you see they're setting a screen, right? Evan Mobley looks like he's maybe talking. If I'm Sam Merrill, now Sam Merrill tries to fight through the screen. You see what he does? He's going to the guy's just going to stay there. And the offensive player is just going to go back because Sam Merrill goes under the screen. And he just stands there. He doesn't try to fight out of it. He just loses his footing. He's in a bad spot. And this guy is just pulling up in a wide open. I mean, that's a wide open three for him. Just a routine shot. But why not go over to the top, fight through the screen, get in a better stance defensively? I mean, he's just like he's running like he's lollygagging. Like this is not a good stance. Like, you don't fight through a screen like that. How you fight over a top of a screen is you get paper thin. Like, you mean like a piece of paper slide through a crease? That's just how you're taught. And you get the right footing and you go over the top, and you got your guy right here to Mobley to hold for a second. He just comes over the top, recover, boom, and you defend it. You got James right here who's between man and ball should be in that lane right there to cut off that driving lane and make him, pull back, and he gives you time to recover if need be. And that's how you defend a pick and roll or a pick and pop. Like, it's not rocket science. This is just bad fundamentals right here. Like, I don't know what this is. And it's just bad basketball. And we go on to the next one now, right? Go on to 1 minute right here. Merrill again. Here's Sam Merrill again. So Sam Merrill's going to be over here. Sam comes running up with his arms in the air. He's running forward. He's not down in a defensive stance. I mean, he's already back. He's facing where they're coming up the court, right here. He's already in a good position. He's facing the right direction, right? He got back. He turned around. Your guy has the ball. He just runs forward, his arms up. He's standing straight up. Like, get down in a defensive stance and slide over the top of the screen here. But they don't do that. And it puts Mobley in a bad spot. And Mobley sits down. His guy's rolling to the basket, though, because Sam's out of place. So he has to kind of, between him and he has to, kind of stagger him here. But Desmond Bane's a great shooter. He gets right up in rhythm. Easy 2 points. Again, it's just basic fundamental basketball. That's 2 clips there from Sam Merrill. And then a lot of it, too, communication. The Cavs, a lot of times, their defensive breakdowns don't communicate well. We watch this play here. Merrill gets Same thing, Merrill again. I know I'm not trying to pick on Sam Merrill, but the ones that stood out to me involved him 3 out of the 5 last night. It's like right here. What the hell are we doing? I'm assuming we're in a zone, okay? But you still have to communicate in a zone. Nobody's out there on the ball. He's standing right back here. He was standing behind Wendell Carter, or excuse me, Paulo Banchero. Like, why do we have two guys on one? Okay, he's out there. I know he's not a great shooter, but I mean, what are we doing here? Right here, we have two guys sliding down. I think this is on Evan Mobley a little bit. Like, I know Mobley's trying to take the Wendell Carter. I think this is communication error. Maybe Mobley should say, right here, switch. I got him, switch. He should step up and he should switch over. Or Dean Wade should step up right here. Dean Wade, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Oh gosh, this is bad. Dean Wade should be right here. He's not in a good stance. Get down in a defensive stance. Get your hand. You too, James Harden. Look at James Harden. James is like he's out for a walk. Like he's standing on the corner, waving to people. He might as well just go make a sandwich at this point, the way he's standing. Get down in a defensive stance. Get in the passing lanes. Communicate properly. We don't need to. Look at this. That's like Sam Merrill's boxing out Evan Mobley now because they're both out of position, and this is a wide open three for the best player on their team. I mean, this is sad. And Dean Wade just stood there the whole time and just watched it like a spectator. Bad fundamentals. Get down on a defensive stance and start communicating. I mean, what are we doing here? Kenny, you want me to come rip their ass out in a film session? I'll gladly do it. I don't give a shit. I'm tired of watching this. And then right here, bad communication again. Let's watch this play. So Banchero's going to shoot a shot, right? Now Max Strus, he's starting to go back like he's leaking back, right? They don't get the rebound. Right here, Max Strus should be hauling ass back because you had Banchero, right? And what he should have did right here, so Dennis Schroeder's going here. Keon Ellis is right here. Max Strus should be yelling right now, corner, 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 because you know he's going to the corner. Well, nobody goes to the corner because he doesn't yell and communicate it. Schroeder probably could have been Schroeder should have been the guy. Right here, Max just said corner. And Schroeder or Ellis, probably Schroeder he should have said Dennis corner. You know what I mean? He should have went to the corner right here, switch on him, at least get a hat on him, and to make it, he's going to shoot the shot over Schroeder, but still at least make it contested. And he goes and picks up this guy right here. We don't do anything. We just all stand around here and just let him get another routine shot. And that's 2 times in this game. I showed 2 clips already where Banchero has had 2 routine shots off of bad communication. And then I go back to the leadership now with James Harden, setting the tone, right? So Donovan Mitchell, he turns the ball over right here, trying to be a little extra, he turns it over, whatever. Although you don't want to be that loose with the ball in the post. But anyways, I don't need to dial that far in today. But James Harden's the last guy back here. You got a 2-on-1 fast break here. Dennis Schroeder's trailing. He's getting in the picture now. Naquan Tomlin's he's going to get in the picture eventually. James Harden, take a charge. James just backpedals, and just lets him go right up, right over him. He lets a smaller guard just go right over him. I think Desmond Bane's 6'3", 6'4", or James about 6'5", a little thicker. Take the charge, James. Set the tone. It's little things like this. Like I think this is where you as a leader you have to set the tone for the rest. Take a charge. You know what I mean? Like, put your body on the line. Set the tone for the rest of the team. You're not getting it easy tonight. If they call a block, so be it. But you're going to feel it. Like, no, just let them go up for a layup. Fuck it. I mean, I just bad leadership. And, like, they're not – and like Kenny said, I think that's what Kenny's basically saying. It's bad leadership right now by their example, by their actions. And just bad team defense, bad fundamentals. So – that's my Cavs rant for you. Humble, you there, brother?
I am, and I heard everything you said, man.
Humble, I said everything I had to say. I have much more I could say. I mean, what's your thoughts on all this? What Kenny's comments, and then showing the film there, kind of what he was talking about, and just the leadership. What's your thoughts on all this?
Well, the first things first. I want to get back to what you were saying about the Donovan Mitchell thing. With everything being said, not having a championship, the closest person That being said, is Kenny to a championship. It's kind of funny that I this is probably, you could say, one of the greatest. I mean, what was it, 2 seasons ago? Or was it last? Yeah, or last season where we had that great Cavs record, and it was historic. The run we went on. It's just kind of funny that, like, if you threw like a prime LeBron on this team right now, you're probably gonna get to the finals. You know what I'm saying? Donovan, that's where we're saying his questionability to be a leader. He struggled at times, and he's still struggling. And how far is this going to get us this year? Because how bad this defense has been, and we all know defense only gets better and picks up in the playoffs. Pick up.
And he doesn't have the excuse anymore, Humble, either. Because remember before the James Harden trade, it was like, well, the Cavs better make some moves or Spite is out of there. Like, oh, why? He's going to leave you. It's like,
Right.
well, they went made the trade he wanted to make. They said, I heard the other day, I think it was Brian Winters or somebody said this, or James, I think it was Jason Lloyd said, this is the Cavs team Donovan Mitchell wanted. This is it. This is what they want. This is what he wanted right here. This type of team constructed
Yeah.
this way with this personnel. And now he can't just, and if they fall short again this year, he can't come out there and say, I can't win here and request a trade or start putting out these rumors to the people in the media saying I may leave. Like, no, at some point it's you. At the end of the day, the Cavs, they've won a championship before without you. They don't really, they've proven it with, you could say, well, they had LeBron and blah, blah, blah. Well, everybody said when LeBron left, they'd never get back to this point. Well, here they are. There's people in that building that have
Right.
won a championship before, and they can go get the man back himself this offseason. And he could
There's
probably,
culture
there's
here in Cleveland.
culture.
Yeah.
Right. There's been development, there's been culture. If Donovan leaves, the real narrative should be not what some people in the media are going to spin out their bullshit kiss ass stuff. It should be no, Donovan can't. He went to two places and still didn't get it done. Like at some point, when does he look in the mirror?
And had, if not really good teams surrounding him.
He
I
had
mean, that
he
team
had
in
Rudy.
Utah, yeah, it
He
was
had
no
two defensive
scrubs.
player of the years with him on both
Right,
sides. On both, he had Rudy Gobert and he had Evan Mobley. There's no excuse.
right.
There's no excuse. At some point, it starts with you, the player.
And
I just go ahead.
we've been critical as far as him chucking up shots at time, being that hero ball. Get your teammates involved. I mean, you know what I mean? Well, Harden's doing a phenomenal job the way he's orchestrating our offense. Um, we know you can score 40 points, man. You just showed it against Orlando. Um, but do it when it matters, man. I mean, look at Luca, for example, how he does it. I mean, it's just flawless the way he scores. Um, it's just, I don't know, Joe. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Offensively, that we know they're great. They're probably they're one of the best offensive teams in the league. They could
When
score
healthy,
points.
sure.
They could score points. Even last night with not healthy. 136 points easily.
Right.
That efficiently. They can
Yeah.
score just as well as anybody. It's defensively, that's just they're not where they need to be. And right now, Humble, I think they're trending towards another early playoff exit. And I don't like to say that, but I don't
You got
want
to
to
keep
say
it
that.
real. This
But
is
I,
this is
I, I
the
think
channel.
we're yeah, I think we're heading towards I think they'll win. I think right now I see this team as going about 6 games in the first round and going to the second round and falling short. And and a lot of it is because they just can't get enough stops. And eventually, when you sit and you shoot as many threes as they do some nights, and you have to exert that much energy to stay in the game, you get tired. You know what I mean? Especially in a 7-game series, and teams will start to put different, defensive coverages and certain adjustments on you to make it harder. Like, that's what I see right now. Because I mean, the fact that he's saying this Humble 2-3 weeks out for the playoffs is not a good sign. We're asking for leadership and ownership.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here? Like I said earlier, this is shit you hear in the middle of January when the team's tanking. When they had expectations going in and they underperformed. This is what you hear. Like all those years LeBron was in LA and the team was going south, and you're talking about leadership and ownership and this and that. They're trading half the team again at the deadline. Like that's what this sounds like.
Yeah.
But Yeah, they got the win. They won 4 in a row, so they are winning. So that's good. But they play against Miami Heat at home tonight. Humble. I think another big game. The Heat are, I think, a borderline playoff team right now, and maybe they are in the playoff run. But I wouldn't doubt if they get in there.
Yeah.
You're going against Eric Spoelstra tonight. They always play a certain way each night. You got Mister 83 points coming into town. What's your prediction for tonight's game, Humble? Do you think they step it up defensively, and who do you like as your leading scorer, like we did yesterday? Who do you have as your leading scorer tonight? And prediction.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mobley, with him playing the center position, you got Bam. That's one of the biggest matchups I'm looking at already. Uh, does Bam actually play a decent game tonight? If if not, is Mobley playing at a better level than last night? I mean, we saw he was already 8 for 8. Like you said, give him the ball more. Let's see what he can do with it. He already had a hot start,
19-9 last night with limited shots.
and that's efficient. You know what I mean?
You should have. I mean, that screams. He needs the ball more.
Right, right. And I mean, give him more touches, get him involved more. You know what I mean? Hell, maybe Kenny needs to look at other eyes. You know what I mean? Look at the future. I mean, hell, we already traded one of our assets as far as DG. You know what I mean? Keep your eyes on the prize. You know what I mean, man? I don't know.
Who do you like your leading scorer tonight? Like last night, we do your prediction. So, what do you got as your leading score for the Cavs, and what's your final score prediction?
Um, I probably, it's crazy saying this, but I think Mobley can maybe come out with a 25-point game, and I think Harden backs him up with I think Harden could maybe get a 32, 30 to 30. Uh, I know Don just came with a 40 piece, and people's like, oh, he's gonna come out more scoring. I don't know. I think Don come out with like a 22 points, and I think we'll end the game 107, 107.99.
I'm gonna say Donovan's the leading scorer again tonight. I think Donovan's gonna try to do it with do what Lucas did last week when he had 100 points in 2 games. Now I don't think he's going to score 60 tonight or 50 something, but I think he's going to try to have back to back nights of just monster games. Because remember, the night 2 for Luca was Miami too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Right. Good
I
point.
I think Donovan with that mentality is going to go out tonight and try to go out and put another 40 piece up. I think he'll finish with 38. Actually, no, I'm gonna give him 40 again tonight. I'm gonna give him 40 again tonight. I'm gonna say he goes back to back 40-point nights. I don't know why, and I think Mobley is the second leading scorer tonight with 21 and I'll say 21 and 8, maybe 21 and 10, and then I'll say Harden's about 20. 21. Mm, no, I'll say Mobley's 23. I'll say Harden's about 20 and about 10 assists, maybe 9 assists, somewhere in there. And I think the Cavs get the win tonight, lower scoring because it's back to back. I'll say I'm gonna get my save score from last night. I think maybe tonight's the night for it. I will say hopefully 113 to I'll say 101. But
Okay.
knowing the Cats, it's probably gonna be a freaking 145 to 142. So and Mobley gets 2 shots for the game. Um,
Right.
so I don't know, but yeah, I'll go with that. I'll say Donovan gets back to back 40-point nights, and they win by 15 or so, or what I say 113 to 101. So yeah, but so they win by 12. But that's what I got. That's what we got for the Cavs for you guys. Now, Humble, I'm gonna hand it off to you, brother. Well, before we close out the show, we don't need a break today. We'll just go right to it. Humble, I know you sent me this one from Greg Popovich, this clip, and I'm gonna play the clip, and then I want you to explain why, and then the story you have behind this that you want to share with the people. I think it's pretty cool. So here's Greg Popovich with a clip talking one time about being unbenchable, and this what Greg's kind of talking about. Coach Popovich kind of talking about here is, the what he tells a lot of his younger guys when they come to his organization, and what he wants them to become from a mindset standpoint, not just as a player, but the mindset. And so, what you need to be thriving for each and every day. And it kind of goes off my rant now, just now with the Cavs and leadership. Having this mentality each and every day, no matter if you're number one on the roster, on the number one guy or the 15th guy, you got to have the same mentality each and every day. And this is how cultures are established. Obviously the Spurs won 5 chips, so here's Coach Popovich and what he said.
New guys are concerned. I always talk to them about it's your job to make me play you. If you want to play, make me play you. Make it so that I'm an idiot if I don't have you on the court. You got to do that. I can't do that for you. As far as new,
So I'll let you take it away, brother.
Yeah, man. Well, it was the biggest thing for me is make me feel like an idiot. Make me feel like an idiot. So I have to make you play, man. I mean, hearing that, it's just like it's true because it's like I had a buddy on my team in high school, and he long story short, he wasn't getting any play time first 2 quarters. There's 5 seconds left, and coach needs him to step in, and he said no, I don't want to come in, and he says, why don't you want to go in? He said, you haven't put me in all quarter. What's the point of going in? And without him knowing at the time, he's the best shooter on the team. And in that clutch moment, we needed his shot. And he didn't see a belief in himself. He didn't care enough to take that shot or even step into the game. Uh, with that being said,
Mm. And that's crazy. And I think that's kind of like what Pop's saying too, Humble. It's like in life, it's like a metaphor for life. Always be ready because you never know what's around the corner. You never know when it's going to be your time, And I think if you look around at social media nowadays, compare your life to other people's and, what they have and what you don't have, you're going to get discouraged because a lot of what you see on there, number one, it's not reality. People only show you what they want to show you. But also, we're human beings and we have a flesh within us, and I think we start to doubt ourselves, and a lot of that's programmed to get you to doubt yourself, to get you to conform. And I think when you really understand that, how it's really a weapon used against you, especially spiritually, um maybe you're not a spiritual person, but I would say believe in something or you'll fall for anything, because that's what I was getting at. If you don't have that awareness or that type of thing, you'll fall for anything, and you'll doubt yourself, and you allow yourself to just be just there. Like, like that story you mentioned there, that's somebody, like you said, not doesn't have belief in themselves. And,
yeah,
the coach is putting you in the game in the clutch moment because he wants you out there, but you want to say, no, I don't want to go in. It reminds me of like the story when, 95, the Bulls, when, a little different than that, but because Scottie Pippen obviously was, who he was by then. But, when Jordan was out when he took that break, when he went to play baseball for 18 months, that first year, remember they made it to the conference finals.
right,
And, there was a story, at the end of the game, Phil Jackson thought, in his eyes, it was better to get Kukoc the ball because he felt like he would have the better look, and have Scotty take out the ball for his passing. He felt like Kukoc would get a good look. And Kukoc obviously was a great player. And now Scotty obviously felt the same way because it's supposed to be my team now. So Jordan's not here anymore. Like, I'm supposed to get the last shot. And I think Phil saw it a different way. I want to win the game. What's best for the team first, Scotty? And Scotty had always been the most team player friendly guy. He always sacrificed to Jordan up to that point. Was a two-way dominant player, one of the best two-way players we've ever seen. And Scotty just said, "I'm not going in." He just got pissed off, but he said, "I'm not going in the game." And and there's guys, his teammates are like, "Scotty, what are you doing? Go in the game. Check in." He goes, "I'm not going back in." And then Phil Jackson finally came over and said, "You in or you out?" And he said, "I'm out." And Phil turned to his staff, said, "Fuck him." And they went out there, and Kukoc ended up hitting the game winner. But and the play worked. But guess what
right,
happened after the game? Nobody cared about that in the locker room because everybody could tell something was wrong because everybody saw that Scotty checked himself out. You know, and after the game, they were in the locker room just stunned and just, it was an emotional locker room. They were just like, and I remember they said Bill Cartwright stood up and he said, "Scotty, I can't believe you did that to us. You're our guy. Like we never thought you would do that." And but I think that's just a story I think of related to that, but also just things may not always go as planned or
Yeah.
how you want it to go. But that's where you have to have a spiritual higher power, knowing like I think what Pop said the metaphor, but do all the great things, embrace where you are now, embrace the grind, embrace the process of life, enjoy the process of getting where you want to go, make goals, and achieve those things in your dreams. And when you get there, you'll get there at the right time. But always have that. Even when you get there, though, have that mindset of always being unbenchable, and work so
Yeah.
hard, and don't just settle with being average. And that's what he's saying. Don't just doubt yourself and settle for being, because a lot of guys that fizzled out were guys that just they were okay just being the 13 man on the bench and collected a check. That was good enough for them. And they could have made
Like
more. They could have done more for themselves. So
that's like how you said last show. Some players are all right just making the league. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They're okay with that. They made it. That was their dream all along, to just have a
which is a hell
uniform
of
that
an
had their last
accomplishment.
name.
You know,
Well, for sure. We're not
and I,
taking, no, for
and I know
sure.
sports is probably a little different because there's more politics to it, and I think some guys were had it against them. But I just say in life, use that as a metaphor for life, which is what we're saying. You know what I mean? Use that as a metaphor for life. Even if you're a athlete now in high school, maybe in college, maybe you're a scout, like it's not promised you're going to make it. Number one, have a plan B in life because the odds of
Yeah.
making it's very slim. So, to make it from high school to a college full ride scholarship in college is hard, and then going from that to the pros is like 2% of even less. So, it's very always have a plan B in life, but have something that have something for yourself, and don't just okay with just being average and just do what everybody else does. I think that's like we've been preaching the same kind of message. It's like what I said yesterday, humble. Everybody nowadays just wants to be an equal. There's no leadership. Nobody wants to be a leader. Nobody wants to inspire change anymore. Like everybody says all that quote shit. They don't really mean it. No, I don't see the actions. The actions speak louder than words. A lot of people I see nowadays, everybody just wants to be an equal. They just want to do what everybody else does and go along to get along and be a follower. And I just think we need less of that. We need more leaders, more people that are willing to go back and give back to your community. You don't have to be. It doesn't have to be a grand fashion. You don't have to be on a mega stage or be known. Just go get back to who gave to you growing up. Go back to your community. Go back, coach those kids in the coach, and you got knowledge of sports you played growing up. Go back and give it to them. Go help out your school. Go help out your church. You know what I mean? Go. You can inspire one person. I've done that. I know Humble tell me stories, but he's talked to people. Humble, you talked to a guy at Walmart recently. Yeah, you
Yeah.
might have changed that guy's life. You never. I'm not saying I'm serious when I say that. You don't know.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of guy you are. You know what I mean? You don't need a whole lot to do something great. So, I mean, for my rant again, you got to,
Nice.
you got your closing thoughts. You want to add more?
No, it's perfect what you were saying, because like kind of like how you were saying with the plan B, it's kind of with the thought I was thinking of reinventing yourself. And you know you could be so good at something, but what are you outside of what you're good at? Like for example, one of my favorite MMA fighters, Dustin Poirier, he uh he was just on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about, you know, I just retired and I'm, 20 years of just fighting. Now I'm trying to figure out what do I do with my life now. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You can always There's always something to learn about yourself that you never knew about. And even with people, like my dad the other day was talking to my mom and caught her off guard watching a movie or something. He was like, "You like this type of stuff?" Like, yeah. He was like, "Still learning new stuff about you." You know what I mean? And that's cool. You know what I mean?
You're
Because
always
you always
evolving.
exactly, exactly took the words out of my mouth. Like for example, how you said, look at Amar, like we were talking about Amari Stoudemire, and I think on his recent post he was talking about, um, you know, wow, look at this. It was a highlight reel of him on the, him in the NBA and stuff, and he was just saying, it's always more important to look at what's in front of you instead of what's behind you, because what's in front of you is so much more important, because you can always look back at the flashbacks and see what you did, but when you're out there making impacts and you're chasing something that you really want in front of you rather than, you know what I mean,
Oh yeah, and even
It's
Chris Bosh. I mean, this is a guy that's an
right.
NBA Hall of Famer, NBA champion, one of the best players of his era. And he even said it recently. Things go out of your control that are bigger than basketball.
Beautiful
And
point.
I think too. Everybody's so focused on monetary things nowadays, and what can I obtain, and what can I do for me, and what can I be an equal in, and money, 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 and everything. But it's like, you know, I always think there's something more powerful than any amount of wealth in the world is real influence, not influencer. I'm saying real influence. And what I mean by real, like you inspire people, you help people just through your actions and what you say, and you
Put an impact on their life. You stand for their
yeah,
life. Yeah.
yeah. You're like an icon of your own community, or in amongst people that knew you. You know what I mean? Like, and I maybe not icon, but you know what I mean? Like people, like you're respected and remembered. You're not just liked and and just another like everybody else. You know what I mean?
You didn't do it for a view. You did it. You didn't do it for a like. You didn't do it for none of that. You did it because it came out of your heart and you wanted to see change, whether you were here or whether you were looking down at planet Earth.
Yeah. And you find out the people who are really committed to that are the ones that stick through it. And
Yeah.
that's who they are. I've seen people that go and they get involved in things, but then once they get to a certain place in life, they just say, forget about it. Because it's like, no, don't stop there. But,
Right.
I think a lot of people just do that because it looks good and they can post it online. But it's like, you
They-
can really in and out the real and the fake nowadays.
Yeah.
And we need more of the real ones out there,
Yeah.
So, because it's needed. The youth needs it, especially. A lot of these kids, man. I've been around, man. They're like, man, they're asking for it. They're crying out for it.
No.
So,
Yeah. That's great words to say. Crying for it,
but
attention, and they just want to be
want to be
accepted
heard.
and heard and seen and all that.
Yeah, man.
In
Good stuff.
reality, you just gotta love yourself, have family, faith, and every everything. Man, I'm just want to say, man, Joe, thanks for having me up here, man. It was a great discussion as always, and Joe's already got the tag up there. You guys can find me at Humble Man MMA, and man, I'm gonna probably, I'm not probably, I'm gonna once I get inside, have my dinner, and as I'm eating dinner, I'm gonna try to post out this video I had on Instagram. I'm gonna do a little more editing on it and post it up there on my YouTube today. So if you guys check it out, I'll have a first video up there today. So
Go
yeah,
subscribe to the
man.
man. Show him some love, man. I'm helping some ideas too. I mean, he's gonna blow it up over there. He's gonna be big. He's gonna be the hottest guy in the MMA world. I promise you that. 'Cause he's got the passion for it, and so go subscribe to him now, and get ready because he's coming. So appreciate all you guys. Like, subscribe, share all that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next one. We're out of here.
Wow, yeah.
Gone.